Hello, everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, a Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
It's the bye week. There is no game preview this week,
Woo! Oh, wait, sorry. I
so we're
mean,
going to talk
a
about.
little less depressing today, guys. Woo!
Yeah. We don't have to watch our Panthers lose again, but we will be talking about all the losses, I guess, that we've had so far, and some news, and kind of just where the season is, what we expected, what we expect to see moving forward. And just kind of chat, just kind of a loose podcast. We don't really have much of an outline for this one, so
But
a few things we do want to hit on, but
but yeah, we do have some news, guys.
yeah.
And first and foremost, Steven, I've always wanted to say this, and since it's bye week, I feel like I could do it. Smash that subscribe button and that like button. Thank you very much. Or if you're on the podcast, please subscribe.
Yeah.
Secondly, Steven, point your camera down a little bit. I have just half a chin here. Wrong down. Wrong down, sir.
That's
Now I just see your eyes. There we go.
All right. Okay.
All right. Sorry.
Ignore
Let's
my
get going.
messy my switch and all my stuff over here.
Yeah, your gaming stuff.
Yeah.
I just have the field. Oh, wrong side. Field over here. But let's get going, guys. Thomas Brown is now taking over play calling. It is something that I feel like needed to happen. Frank
Yeah.
Reich was forgetting players never got a snap. Like,
Yeah,
fourth on the depth chart.
It's not like I don't know how much the play calling is actually going to change, but it is going to free up Frank Reich to do things that the head coach should be doing, right? Worrying about clock management, worrying about substitutions, worrying about things that are happening during the entire game, not just the offensive play calling. So I think it is a positive for sure. It's also good for Thomas Brown. He was brought in to be the offensive coordinator. Now he gets to fully do that job. From what they're saying, Frank Reich said that this was kind of his plan all along. And he did say it in the preseason that at some point during the season, he wanted Thomas Brown to take over play calling. I think maybe it's sooner than he was anticipating, but it's a good time to do it, right? The bye week. You get Thomas Brown, he gets 2 weeks to prepare now for Houston. So I think it makes sense. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what Thomas Brown does.
I'm 100% excited about it. I think that Frank Reich wasn't doing a good job, pure and
Yeah.
simple, on
Last
play
couple
calling.
games have been better, but yeah, the first few weeks were abysmal.
Abysmal.
Boring. Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, I still think in closer games, we don't need to be passing 60 times, but some reason Bryce Young is still throwing the ball so many times. Last week got out of hand towards the end of the game, and I get that. You got to pass at that situation, but felt like the week before that, and even Minnesota, the games were somewhat close till the end. Why are you having Bryce chuck it around so much? Especially when you overpaid for Miles Sanders, which Chuba deserves to the start.
We'll get into Miles Sanders a little later, but yeah, it's again, these games have kind of gotten away from the Panthers in the fourth quarter. So there's been more throwing in the fourth quarter, but I do feel like there's been more of a balance over the last few weeks. It seems like they are committing more to the run. They're certainly more committed to the pass overall, but they are at least trying to run the ball. And as we saw with Chuba, I think he's capable of it. I don't know that Miles Sanders is capable of it, but I mean, again, we'll kind of talk about the running back situation a little later, but Thomas Brown, he's the guy now. So we'll kind of see. I do think that we will see more of a commitment to the run. I think it's going to be more of a balance because Thomas Brown's not a quarterback and Frank Reich is, right?
And honestly, I think that's the way we needed to go anyways, especially with the receiving core. I feel like you establish the pass, especially with a rookie quarterback, even though he is supposedly very cerebral and stuff. You don't want to put him behind the eight ball. I know we've complained about first down runs. I agree. I still don't think we need to run 90% of the time on first down up the middle. But
Yeah.
I'm saying some reverses, maybe a couple quick slants, stuff like that on first down can benefit overall the team.
I hope they're more creative.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I want to see is more. I just want to have fun watching the game. And I think it's going to be beneficial to be more creative. Throw the defenses off balance. Like this, maybe it's hard to come up with those plays, but it's not hard to know that you need to come up with those, that know that that's what you need to do is be more unpredictable, right? Because right now we're very predictable.
And I think an Atlanta Falcons defensive player came out, I mean, granted after week one, saying that we kind of knew what they were going to do because we'd seen it before in preseason. And
right. They did the same thing that they did in preseason.
it's sad, but it's true. Like, we thought the preseason was, hey, they're not showing much. They're keeping everything close to the vest. Well, come to find out, keeping everything close to the vest until win. I mean, that at this point, trailing off into a different subject, I mean, at this point, Frank Reich has to be feeling his seat get warm.
Yeah. At this point, yes, I would say so because they're 0-6, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they continue down that path and there are no cupcakes on the schedule, right? Like we're the cupcake on the schedule for everybody else. Realistically, I don't know that I see more than like 3 wins here, the rest of the way. Like I hope there's more, but does he get fired going 3-14 in year one? I don't know.
I mean, I feel like Tepper wants to win. I think Tepper also needs to keep his hands off the team, but Tepper wants to win. Tepper gave him the money to go out get this all-star coaching staff. I'm using quotes for those of you listening at home or on the car ride. Like, I don't think 3-14 is gonna keep his job, and honestly, I don't think it should. He got to make a lot of the decisions to go for the NFC South. He was preaching NFC South title. It wasn't, hey guys, this is a process. No, that's what he was saying. So I'm holding him to what his words were.
Yeah. And I think his words were echoing what Tepper was telling him. And maybe he sold that in the interview. Maybe Frank Reich did. I think it should have been a process. Like, I think we all see now that this is not a team that was ready to win now at all. And, we were hesitant in the off season. We were both optimistic, but, it was one of those things where it was like, if everything goes perfectly, if Bryce comes out of the gate looking like a veteran, if the receivers are better than we think they are, if they can find someone opposite Brian Burns, and none of those things really happened.
Hey, I drank the processed blue Kool-Aid, okay? I was all in.
You did. But hey, I mean, here we are, and there's really nowhere to go but up from here, honestly. I mean, I'm hoping that we have reached the bottom.
Probably we're 31st in the league on scoring defense. So we have probably one of the worst offenses in the league. Supposedly the best in the NFC South scoring wise. So that's interesting. But
a lot of garbage time, though. Like a lot of garbage time points. And several of our touchdowns have been scored by the defense. So like if you look at only the offense, I bet we're not number one in the NFC South. But scoring wise, hey, I mean, we've gotten a couple of defensive touchdowns, and we've got Eddie MVP as our kicker, so that helps. But all right, so good news there. Bad news, unfortunately, is Jeremy Chinn going to miss at least 6 weeks, they said. I think Jeremy Chinn likely would have been traded before our next game. Those were the rumors. It seems like he would have had some value. I don't know how much value, but that's not going to happen at this point.
I am still shocked to this point that Jeremy Chinn, who is a good football player, coaches cannot find a role for him. It just shocks me. Like, take it away. There's going to be other players we talk about that I don't think are as good of a football player as Jeremy Chinn. Jeremy
People
Chinn
say
is
as talented as Jeremy Chinn.
Yeah, I think Jeremy Chinn's a good football player. Like, I really believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand how these coaches have not been able to get him to work. That Phil Snow's the only one in his year one playing that linebacker role got him to succeed. I don't understand how any of these other coaches have not been able to get him to really be successful.
Well, what's his position been since that rookie year?
Safety and nickel corner.
And that's just not what he's best at. That's clear to everyone except the people that are coaching this team.
He's an undersized linebacker. I'm sorry he's undersized, but you got to play him at linebacker.
Yeah.
And
I use these guys to their strengths. And undersized, he's 6'3", 220. He's not small, right? He's not a tiny guy. He's got size, he's strong, he's fast. He's I think he's about the same size as Thomas Davis was, right?
Thomas Davis is who I think they need to mimic. Who played safety his rookie season and then went to outside linebacker. Yeah. But I
instead they went the opposite. Like they started him at linebacker and they moved him to safety, and he's worse. Yeah, I remember Thomas Davis was drafted basically to be the Michael Vick stopper, right? Remember that, where they needed somebody to shadow Vick essentially. Well, Jeremy Chinn, we don't have any Michael Vicks in this division, but we play a lot of mobile quarterbacks. The league, half the league has mobile quarterbacks, so he could be very valuable. But that's a bummer. It's a significant quad injury is what they've labeled it. So he'll be out for a while. I could see it being season ending if we continue down this road, and 6 weeks from now we've won 1 or 2 games. Why bring him back at that point?
And then they'll probably sign him in the offseason for a 1 year, or he'll go somewhere else. He'll go to Philly. He'll go to Philly for a 1 year, like $3 million contract.
And be a Pro Bowler.
Be a Pro Bowler. And that's what Scott Fitterer has done, is just garbage in the...
I do think Scott Fitterer's job is in more jeopardy than Frank Reich's job. I will say that.
It should be. I like last year's draft, this year's draft, I like Zavala, and I liked...
Yeah, but Zavala's look terrible.
Well, I know. I'm not going to say he hasn't, but I'm saying I like Zavala's pick. I thought Jonathan Mingo was overdrafted, even though I was very excited that I won our draft bet because of it.
Right.
But DJ Johnson was a bad pick.
Big reach.
Bryce Young, I liked it. I get it.
And it's still too early to be out on Bryce Young, I think.
I think Stroud was my first pick, but then the knowledge came out about processing, so I did jump Young. And again, before the season started, I said there's 2 quality quarterbacks, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, coming up next season. So I'm not upset we got Young. Just give him time, guys. Really do not write him off.
No, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago where CJ Stroud should have been the pick. I still believe that. But I'm not out on Bryce Young. Like, I still think he will get there eventually. I don't know that his ceiling is as high, but I think he still has a chance to be a really, really good quarterback and our franchise quarterback. So definitely not out on him at all.
This team did not surround him as well as we thought we did.
No,
the offensive
it's impossible
line,
to properly grade him.
Yeah, the offensive line, this new scheme that they're working with, is not their strength, and it shows on the field. And that, again goes to coaching that, Thomas Brown, Frank Reich should have realized this in training camp, that this zone scheme is not going to be working. They need to go back to that power run, power style. But
yeah, it's tough. But let's say the Panthers go 3-14, like we said. I think it's almost 100% that Fitterer is fired. And I would say it's like 25% that Reich is fired. I think he'll give Reich a second year just because it's pretty obvious that the talent is not here, right? The talent has not been put on this team.
This is what the problem with this Panthers team has been, is that they're constantly doing the same thing. If you're going to fire the GM, fire the coach too. Hire a GM, let him pick his guy.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It happens both ways.
It's constantly doing that. Fitterer picked Frank Reich, so this is his guy, but he gets 1 year with him. I mean, I hate saying it this way.
Do you really think Fitterer picked Frank Reich?
And if that's the case, then I think we all know we have a bigger fish to fry than...
I think Nicole Tepper was really high on Frank Reich.
I think the Teppers, I don't want to put it just on Nicole because I think that's wrong.
I know. I don't think it's wrong. But I do think that both the Teppers, you're right. Both the Teppers, I think they're the ones making all these decisions, honestly.
And honestly, you're probably right. At first I was thinking no, but it does seem like that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and that worries me for whoever they hire as the next GM.
We have a worse version of Jerry Jones right now. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, well, worse because he's not a good talent evaluator.
Yes.
Where Jerry Jones, at least can find those guys. He can find the Micah Parsons. Like he
Tony
drafts
Pollard.
the guy. Right.
Those are.
Even
picks.
Dak in the 4th round. Like Dak's not my favorite quarterback, but he's starting quarterback in the league that he got in the 4th round.
Dak, I agree 100%. I think people overrate him so much. But do I think he's a quality starting quarterback? Yes. Did he get
at least average, right?
Did they grab him in the 4th round? Yes. That's a steal.
Yeah. And there have been reports that they didn't want Dak. They wanted someone else. But, whatever. They ended up going with it. And he's the GM, right? So he's the one with all of the power. He answers only to himself. So yeah, but Tepper just doesn't have that in him, I don't think so. All right, another piece of news here, speaking of potential team movements. Terrace Marshall Jr. has requested and been granted the opportunity to seek a trade. Now, what does this mean? Because we've recently seen like McCole Hardman got traded for essentially a late round swap, right? Is Terrace Marshall Jr. more valuable than McCole Hardman? I don't think so.
I think the best you can get for a trade for him is a 5th rounder, and I don't think
we're going to get that.
I said best, I think. I don't think they're going to get that either. I don't know. Like, even that one game where Mingo was out, he looked better than Mingo, but then right away he went right back to the bench. He caught
Did 9. He look better? I mean, he had 9 catches, but
he got
for
open.
40 yards.
He had 10.
It was for like 40 yards. They schemed. It was
like
scheme.
9 for 56 or something like that. But at least he got those receptions. The games before, Mingo had like 10, 12 targets, but like 3 receptions. Again, I like TMJ a little bit better, but it feels like he just never really got much chance here.
Yeah, and you're right. It was 9 for 56. But that's the thing is like this guy was supposed to. I mean, he's averaging 7.1 yards per catch this season.
But we need somebody who's actually getting open and can catch the ball opposite of Thielen. And Mingo is not that guy. What is he catching? Like 30% of his
I'm
targets?
not saying Mingo's the guy, but I'm saying Terrace Marshall Jr. is definitely not the guy.
Then who else is on this roster that's going to be that
Jerry,
guy right
the wide receivers are bad.
I agree.
And I will also say that if all they can get for Terrace Marshall Jr. is a late round swap or a 6th round pick or something, that they should keep him. They should 100% keep him. A 5th, I don't care. If they trade him for a 5th, fine. Because honestly, he's not going to be on the team. He was drafted. When was he drafted? 2021. So he's got
2 years left.
One more year.
Oh, one more year.
21, 22, 23. He's got next year, and then he's a free agent. He's not going to be re-signed. This is his 3rd year. He's shown nothing, right? I mean,
it's just
he's forgettable enough that the head coach and the offensive staff completely forgot to put him in the game.
I mean, I guess that's my problem, is the fact that we have nothing else, and at least he's shown at least glimpses. Like, tail end of last year, he looked better. And then all of a sudden this year, he looks back to being horrible. But that was a lot of our players. A lot of our offensive line and stuff looked a lot better towards the end of the year with Steve Wilkes. But then...
there's a common theme, I was going to say. There's a common theme. Yeah, I mean, but this year, 2 catches for 23 yards game 1. 5 for 35 yards a couple weeks after that. Then 9 for 56. And then he hasn't caught a pass since. And that was 2 weeks ago.
But at least he's catching passes. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he is, but he's not doing anything with them.
He's not. I agree.
He's not doing anything with them.
But that's the thing. It's like, at least he's catching it. I mean, look at the other receivers on this team. Who's second in our team with catches?
Let's see. So Adam Thielen has 49.
Yeah.
Next
Adam
is
Thielen obviously.
Next is Terrace Marshall with 16. Then it's Mingo with 15. Sanders with 15. Hurst with 14. Shark with 13. Chuba with 13. So they're all just dumping in there together. It's not like he's head and shoulders better than anybody else.
I'm not.
I mean, he's just another guy. And by the way, he has 16 catches, but he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th in yards. So he's catching the ball and he's immediately going down. He has 0 touchdowns. He is not an asset.
I wish.
And we had high hopes for Terrace Marshall, but he is not that guy.
I'm just saying I don't believe this roster, this team could. I don't know.
I mean, Thielen's having success.
I think Thielen was a lot better than I expected.
I mean, the fact that Thielen has 49 receptions out of the 150 total receptions, he's got a third of all and he has 509 of the 1,300 yards passing. That's, not good. I mean, it's fine for him, but it's not good for the team that one guy is getting an entire third of your receptions. That's terrible. That's why we were so bad.
Yeah. I mean,
he's the only guy.
Adam Thielen, as great as he's been for this team, let's be real here. He is not an elite wide receiver right now in his prime.
Of course not. And we knew that, right?
So,
we knew that coming in.
So that being said, he should not be getting a third. Now, if we had one of those elite wide receivers, a Justin Jefferson, my mind went blank. Ja'Marr Chase, one of those.
Chase, yeah.
Like, that makes sense, but I agree. Like, Thielen shouldn't be getting. Thielen should probably be getting a quarter of them.
He has 59 targets. The next highest is Jonathan Mingo with 29. Jonathan Mingo has played 5 games. Hurst has 22. He's the only other one that's played 6 games. Yeah. That's kind of had that much, that's been out on the field that much. So, I mean, he's more than double. And then Chark has 27, and he's the next guy closest in yards. But, I mean, Chark has been a huge disappointment too. He's played 5 games. He's only missed 1 game because of injury, but he's got 27 targets. He's got 13 receptions in 5 games.
Yeah.
That's less than 3 a game. And he's at least, he's got 15 yards a catch. He's at least doing something when he catches the ball, but he's just not getting targeted.
No. I mean, I there's nothing else I can say besides no. I mean, he has 3 big catches, like you said, 39 yards per game. I mean, that second game, he really wasn't playing. I do want to say that. Like,
Sure, he didn't, but he still ran 27 routes or something, right?
yeah,
Like he
but
was out there.
so I don't know. DJ Shark was actually a big thought in my head of being a big time player for this, and he is not.
No,
So
he's on pace for like 700 yards, which is
no,
not what we thought. Whereas Adam Thielen's on pace for like 1,500, right? And 150 catches. So literally, Adam Thielen's on pace for almost 150 catches.
I mean, Bryce Young is still throwing 63% completion percentage. That's insane with how many drop passes and throwaway balls he's had.
Yeah, but his average yards per throw is 5.3.
Because he has to. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Like this offense is dink and dunk, and these guys can't get open.
Not
right?
quick.
And they definitely can't get away from anybody when they catch the ball. So that's what I'm saying. Like Terrace Marshall, Jonathan Mingo, even Chark, Thielen, they're all kind of the same, right? Like, I mean, Chark is fast, but he doesn't seem to be able to get open.
Yeah. At the beginning of the year, I thought we had a bunch of 2s and 3s. I was wrong. We have a lot of like 3s, 4s.
We got 1, 2, and we got a bunch of 4s.
Yeah, like.
And maybe Chark is a 3.
And maybe Mingo
if they can figure out how to get him the ball.
Maybe Shark figures it out. Maybe Thomas Brown figures out what. I do think Thomas Brown calling plays will help, because it did feel like in that middle of the game, it became very repetitive, the same like 4 or 5 plays, where maybe Thomas Brown's thinking ahead where Frank Reich wasn't, where he's had other things on his mind. I'm
hoping that it helps the game flow, overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it should, right? It shouldn't get worse, but I'm hoping like the play calls are going to get in a lot faster to Bryce. And, they already simplified the offense. They said, I hope that continues, because the offense did look better, especially early last week.
It looks better every game at the beginning. That's why I think Frank Reich getting the play calls ripped from him is a good idea.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you want to take a quick break, and then we'll be back, and we'll keep going, talking through the rest of this I don't know, season roster, whatever we end up talking about.
Trade ideas. Trade compensation. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be back here in a few minutes.
All right. And we are back. And now that we are a third of the way through, we're going to go ahead and kind of, even though we're 0-6, so everybody kind of gets an F, like we'll just dish those out real quick, because, wins matter. We're not those team. Let's look at some of the guys who did well and haven't done well. Kind of like point out some guys, all right? I want to start out giving kudos to Yetur Gross-Matos. I know I had written you off as a guy that I was not expecting anything from. You have 2.5 sacks, 3 tackles for losses. Not only that, you just seem to be making plays that you hadn't your previous career. And I feel like I'm really impressed with you this year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he was a guy that I didn't even know that he was going to make the team.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, because he's just been such a disappointment. But he has really stepped up. He's not a superstar.
No.
but he is not a zero. He's not and he is an asset now. He's a good run defender, probably the best run defender on the line. Um, and he's actually getting to the
Edge,
quarterback.
edge run defender. I think Derek Brown probably gets the nudge on that, but
Okay, that's what I meant. But yeah, I mean, for his position, right? He's the
yeah,
best run defender for his position. But yeah, I mean, definitely shout out to YGM. You know, he's turned I think he's saved his career, honestly. We talked about him a little last week. My first shout out and kudos is going to go to Chuba, another guy that we thought. Again, I think I predicted he was not going to make the roster this year. And not only did he make the roster, but he has by far been the best running back on the team. He's
he
got 242 yards. He's averaging 4.5 yards per carry. He has 1 touchdown, but every time he touches the ball, he goes forward. He's making guys miss. He's breaking tackles. He's pushing the pile forward. All the things that he either didn't do or just did very rarely in the last couple of years, he's doing consistently this year, and he deserves a shout out.
100%. I think Chuba needs to be the starter going forward. I don't.
Yeah.
I know you paid Miles Sanders, and he has that connection to Deuce Staley, but Chuba's just the better running back on this team right now.
Yeah. I mean, Miles Sanders in comparison has 7 more carries, but 50 less yards, right? He's only averaging 3.1 yards per carry. Also has the 1 touchdown, but 61 for 190. That's terrible.
Like, that's the thing. It's like, you can see it. Not only can you see it in the numbers, you can see it watching the game where there's a hole that Miles Sanders does not see and runs straight into the back of his lineman because that's where the run is supposed to go. Compared to Chuba, who does see that and goes there and gets an extra 5 yards before tackled. You could see it.
Yeah, and with this line, you're going to have to make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot count on these guys making holes for you. You've got to find the holes that are naturally being created. Even LaVisca has 12 carries for 55 yards. He's averaging 4.5 a carry. I think that's enough of a sample size because most of those runs have been straight running back runs. Like, they haven't been jet sweeps or anything fancy. They just line him up in the backfield and give him the ball.
And he's making things happen.
Yeah, he has looked better than Sanders, as well. So Sanders, just that was a big mistake, that signing.
Yeah,
because he's running behind the same line that Chuba is, and Chuba just looks better.
He looks just night and day better.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to gloat oh, Chuba's great. I think Chuba looks like a starting caliber running back compared to Miles Sanders right now.
Yeah, compared to Miles Sanders, he definitely does. But all right, go ahead.
My kudos, Adam Thielen. I thought you got overpaid. I understood why you were brought here, but dude, you've been balling out. I mean,
yeah,
on pace for, like you said, 1,500 yards. You are the glimmer of hope on this offensive passing scheme.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of scrubs, and you have proven that you are not a scrub, even in an abysmal offense without a Stephon Diggs, without a Justin Jefferson opposite of you. You're a starting caliber wide receiver in your 30s. Hats off.
Yeah, hats off. And he's doing what we thought he would do in terms of the routes he's running, right? The type of yardage he's getting, because he's only averaging 10.4 yards per catch. He is that possession receiver. He's just getting a lot of possessions, right?
Yes.
He is getting force fed the ball because he's the only guy that Bryce trusts. Yeah. He's the only guy that Bryce is like, if I throw the ball, 49 receptions on 59 targets. And several of those targets are probably throwaways or dirt passes, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing, honestly. So yes, I would definitely agree. Hats off to Adam Thielen. He's the only bright spot in the wide receiver core for sure, and probably the biggest bright spot on the offense
Yeah.
overall.
I mean, I expected a lot from him, but not what I've seen.
Yeah,
He went way above what I expected.
yeah, agreed. Are there any other bright spots? Are there
Xavier
any other?
Woods
And
has
there,
had a really good season, but I mean,
he's
he's
missed.
injured now.
Yeah, yeah, he's had a good season. I mean, I think Burns has had a he's had definitely bright spots. He's had big flashes, but he's also kind of, there's nobody opposite him. So the defense, the offensive lines are doubling him and shading towards him, and it's he's just not been able to do much. So I would not say that he's had a great season so far.
No. Uh,
Um,
As same with Derek Brown, I expected more.
yeah,
Like he's had a good season. Don't discredit him, but I was kind of hoping for a little bit more out of him.
yeah. On defense, there just haven't been any game changers, right?
No,
I mean, nobody's
Frankie Louvu.
Luvu.
I was
Yeah,
expecting to be a boom type of player this year. I really did.
and he's had boom plays. He
But
has.
he has, but that's it. Like maybe
He's
that's the
leading
problem.
the team in tackles, right? He's got 2.5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, which is second only to Brian Burns. Like I think he's played very well.
I did too. I think he's played well. I guess I was expecting a Pro Bowl season for out of him. But it also seems like they're not using him the way I would have used him as an opposite pass rusher to Brian Burns.
Right.
And he is the best pass rusher percentage wise by PFF that we have right now.
Yeah. He should be doing more of that for sure. And maybe that's something that they'll look at in the bye week here, and maybe I'm hoping that this bye week gives them an opportunity to make some adjustments. It should, right? We're 0-6. If we come out week or game 7 and we look exactly the way we looked before, then the whole damn staff should be fired. I mean, that's inconceivable. Malpractice. Like something has to change. They've
I
got to
mean
do something.
that's what we've been dealing with for so many years right
I
now.
know.
I don't
I
even
know.
know what to argue against.
It's impossible to hope, right? Grugier Hill has stepped up and he's played well in the absence of um, the linebacking core. Like it's like everybody's going down here. So shout out to him. He's stepped in and has played fairly well. He's not great by any means, but he's got a sack and he's tackle for loss, interception. Uh, so
I do
Troy,
want to.
go
I
ahead.
know we're about to go to the negatives here, but I do want to give a quick shout out to Troy Hill, Sam
Yeah.
Franklin, lower depth chart guys. They're at the top of the coverage on PFF. And you could tell they're better than the guys that are also probably above them, like CJ Henderson, some Dante
Mm-hmm.
Jacksons, and stuff like that. They're playing at a better level when they're called. Sam Franklin, I feel like, honestly, it feels solid for him. Like he's making plays out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say Troy Hill next was gonna be another guy, and then Sam Franklin. I'm glad you
Sorry,
brought
I
him
thought
up
we were
because
wrapping it up, so I just called them both out.
no. I agree. Sam Franklin, I would not have thought of, but I should have thought of because I think he maybe is he's playing great. I mean, he had the 99-yard touchdown last week,
Mm-hmm.
and um, he was a guy. I don't know if you remember that you thought was going to get cut.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree. That's kind of why I'm kind of wanting to throw him out there because
Yeah.
there's some guys that you don't think of like off top of your head, but hats off to you, man. You
Yeah.
can
He's a gamer.
so
Yeah.
good for you guys. Is there anybody else you want to call out before we go negative?
No, not really. I mean, I think we did pretty good naming that amount of people on an 0-6 team. I mean, Bryce, before we get into the negative people, like Bryce has looked like a rookie typically looks, right? He's had ups and he's had downs, right? The problem is CJ Stroud looks so good that it makes Bryce look worse than he actually is, right? Anthony Richardson has been so exciting that it makes Bryce look less exciting. Whereas Bryce, in a typical rookie season, he's actually playing pretty well.
And you got to think about what he's playing with. We've just described the fact that he has one quality receiver.
Yeah.
Hayden Hurst, who was supposed to be the safety valve, has not looked good. The O-line has given up way too much passer. I mean, the highest
he's been sacked 16 times.
Our highest passing blocker is Taylor Moton with a 66 on PFF. 66 is average.
Yeah.
Our starting guard has a 9.6 pass block rating. Starter.
Man.
Worst in the league guard. Starting off my negatives, Chandler Savala. I know I had high hopes for you. I am not writing you off as Pat Elflein, as you're a rookie, but holy crap, you need to be benched.
He should aspire to be Pat Elflein at this point.
Right now, as sad as that is, yes. I mean, he's had 207 pass blocking plays, and he has a 9.6. You know how I could go out there and probably get a 9.6. And that's not saying much, as I am 5'7", a $170, filled up with water weight. I mean,
he had a 0. Jerry. He had a 0.
If I lined up that guard and I literally just fell on the ground like a turtle, holding my head like this, covering, I could trip some defensive linemen and probably get better than a 0.
You could false start and get higher than a 0. Just to wrap up Bryce, 63% completion percentage.
Sorry.
He has more touchdowns than he has interceptions. He has been sacked 16 times. That's a lot in 5 games. His rating is 78.7. Like, again, he doesn't look amazing, but this is his rookie year. And I think he's looked pretty good for a rookie that is dealing with all that he's dealing with, honestly. And then Andy Dalton came out, played 1 game, had a lot of yards, but had a worse completion percentage, and still got sacked 3 times as well. So, like, it's not night and day, right?
No.
I think Bryce is going to be okay.
Well,
you mentioned...
Sorry, guys, like, he is a rookie. Calm down. Like, I was expecting more, but I'm not, like, writing him off. This team is a lot worse than I expected to. Just in general, overall, offensively and defensively, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's been bad all around. Well, you mentioned the offensive line. I think that's probably the worst unit that we've seen by far. Corbett should be coming back probably after the bye. I would imagine he's going to start week 8, I guess, game 7.
Fingers crossed.
So that should help. Christensen, is Christensen out for the whole season? Okay. So
yes, he is. Sorry, I was drinking water, and that doesn't play well into podcasting.
Audio, Throckmorton, I assume, will move over to the left and play left guard. He's been the best of the replacement guards, pretty heavily. So would assume that's going to happen there. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that they can figure something out again in the off season or in the bye week to improve that unit. We mentioned Sanders. Sanders has been terrible. Bad signing. Hurst, you mentioned. briefly. He's been a massive disappointment. I did not think he was going to be, a 1,000-yard receiver. He wasn't going to be Greg Olsen 2.0, but I
No.
was hoping he would have 600 yards, maybe handful of touchdowns. No, he's got 14 catches, 116 yards, got one touchdown. But again, I think he had 50 of those yards in the first week. He hasn't done anything since then.
No.
I know he had 5 catches and I think 55 yards or something the first week. That's the majority, or the plurality, I guess, of his yards. He's done nothing since then. Real disappointing.
Are you good, or can I?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My person, CJ Henderson. You've gotten chance after chance, and you're still not being able to cover as a starting caliber corner. Like, even if you were not drafted top 10, like, what you're doing on the field, you should be benched. You should not be getting. You should not be seeing the field, to be honest with you, unless it's special teams.
On a team with talent, he wouldn't be seeing the field.
No.
Or healthy talent, I should say. I mean, we don't know what JC Horn's status is. He will be back at some point, we assume. But I think they're going to meet with the doctors this week and kind of see what he looks like. But probably still at least another 2-3 weeks out at minimum, right, before he comes back. So, but yeah, I mean, CJ Henderson, this is his last year under contract, right? I believe it is.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so he will not be on the team next year. Let's see, who else? I mean, there's Justin Houston. How about that? I mean, he was brought in to be that guy opposite Burns, take some pressure off of Burns. He's got half a sack. He's played 6 games, got half a sack.
I keep forgetting he's on the team.
Yeah. 2 tackles for loss. That's it. 8 total tackles. I mean, that's not good enough.
At this point, you need to make Frankie Louvu just rush the passer and forget about Justin Houston as the pass rush specialist. In my opinion, Burns, even if his numbers are not ecstatic to some fans' hopes, is a pass rush specialist. I don't care his numbers are not outstanding. You watch the game, you still see him. Yes, he disappears. I'm not knocking that, but he still gets back there more than he does not.
He definitely gets back there more than anybody else on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why if we did trade Brian Burns, we would get a first-round pick minimum, right? There's a reason why someone offered 2 first-round picks for him last year. Like, he's talented, but he's got no help.
No.
He's got no help.
And that's why I say you need to really utilize. I was saying this in the offseason. You need to move Louvu to more the opposite edge to Brian Burns. Move Chinn to that middle linebacker next to Shaq at the time, who Shaq is no longer playing right now. Yeah. I was sitting no longer with us, and I was like, well, that's not the term. Don't want to wish that on anybody.
Still with us. Just not available.
Especially Shaq, who seems like a very good dude. Like,
Shaq's a good guy. Yeah, I mean, Deion Jones may be another one who's just kind of disappointed, not really been given much of an opportunity. But a guy that we brought in the offseason we thought was going to be playing significant, even as a backup, was going to be a significant contributor, was cut, right? Then brought back and, kind of brought back to the team, but obviously he doesn't have it anymore. He's just not a guy anymore that you can count on. Yeah. I mean, I'd say Horn is another guy that's just been massively disappointing. Another injury.
Year. Yeah. And he just did it. He's
couldn't even make it through one game. Like, yeah, I don't know.
I just
Amir
want to
Smith
call this
Marset.
out. I want to call this out. A lot of people wanted Christian McCaffrey to be gone because of injury concern. After
Mm-hmm.
2-3 years of no injuries, he had a couple bad seasons. JC Horn has had 5 or 6 injuries in 3 seasons.
He
Like,
hasn't had a good season. He
yeah,
hasn't had that. He hasn't had the Pro Bowl season. He hasn't had the season where we see the possibility of him being healthy for a year.
but I still see people defending him like he is. Next year he's gonna be great, dude. He's not gonna be healthy. He's not gonna be healthy.
Look, we understand the talent, right? He is
Yeah,
an extremely good corner when he's out there. But you know what the best ability is? Availability, and he does not have it. He is never available.
no.
You cannot count on him.
Oh, but it's all like weird injuries. Oh, you know what though? Those injuries are keep happening. I'm
They
sorry.
count, right? They count and they keep occurring, just like you said. They're maybe there are fluke injuries, but if he continues to get fluke injuries, then he is injury prone,
Yeah,
right? And I
he's
don't know
played
if it's
19
something.
snaps this season.
Yeah, right. He played half a game. That's it.
I wish I could get his snap count of all time. Like,
We're getting ready to be into November, and he's played 19 snaps. All right. Amir Smith Marset, return guy.
yeah,
I don't understand why he's out, why he's there. You know, you signed Tariq Cohen, who has been a Pro Bowl returner. Like, if he's healthy at all, bring him in.
that's the thing is I don't know if he's healthy at all.
Well, he was healthy enough to sign. I mean, unless he just looks like trash on the practice squad, I'd love to see them give him an opportunity. I mean, Smith Marset at least hasn't fumbled. That's
I
about
was
the
gonna
only
say
positive thing I
he's
can
no
say about him.
Brinson but I can't say it.
Brenton
Burson.
Burson. Yeah. No, he's not. He's
Oh man, we
definitely
started
not.
this podcast and Burson was on the team. Can I say that? Holy crap, that's a long time ago.
Yeah. Cam was on the team. CMC was on the team. DJ Moore was on the team. Things are different, man. And by the way, we weren't a good team then either. Like, we haven't been a good
We
team
have
since
been
we started.
recording and we've had 0 winning season and we're going into our 5th year next year. So
Next year's the year, Jay.
next year.
JC Horn will be completely healthy and
I mean,
everything
should
is
we
going to be
change
amazing.
our motto from keep pounding to next year's the year?
Keep hoping. Oh gosh. All right. I don't know.
Man,
I don't want to.
I might actually just create new t-shirts and try to sell them on like Teesprings or something. Keep hoping for
Yeah.
Panthers.
Keep hoping.
Oh, I like that. Let
Oh
us know
man.
if you want that. I'll try
Yeah.
to design one.
All right. Okay. Well, let's talk real quick about what should the Panthers make any moves in the bye week? Should they make any? Should they be a seller? They certainly, I don't think, should be a buyer. But if they can make a trade, like a player for player swap, I think I'd be interested in that. Right? It doesn't happen a lot in the NFL. But if they could get like a Judy for a Chin,
Well, Chin's injured and you can't trade an
or
injured
okay,
player.
yeah, well, like a Marshall plus a fifth for Judy or a fourth or something. I mean,
I think you do that. I think also like Brian Burns, if you get equivalent to 2 firsts, I think you have to pull the trigger unless you're
yeah,
close to that contract. But from everything I've read and heard is they're nowhere close. And that's on Fitterer, man. You don't turn down the 2 firsts and
100%.
a second if you don't plan to pay him elite money. And that's just I mean
Yeah, they should have
that's
paid him right then. Like that should have been that's your they overvalued him. And then now they're either properly valuing him and he's being like, "Well, shit, you turn down 2 firsts for me. I know what you think of me. I know what you value me as."
sir, you said a wordy dirt. You need to put money in the jar.
I'll bleep it out. Like it is in it's that is if I point to one reason why Fitterer should be fired, it's that.
hundred
Like
percent.
if you're pointing to the one thing that it just made no sense. I mean, I thought they should have traded him anyway. Two firsts is massive.
Two
It's
first and a
that's
second.
right. That's what Aaron Donald you would get for a guy like that. And I love Brian Burns, but he's not that guy.
I I did not
He's
want to
not the
see him
best in
go
the
just
league.
mostly because Christian McCaffrey just went. That being said, you need to pay him right away. You do not need to pull this out. They're
Yeah.
playing at this point. You only shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah. I mean, they have the franchise. They can franchise him next year.
That's still stupid. You're just overall what you're doing is you're just raising your price because all franchise tag does is kick the ball down the road
Yeah.
as the market continues to grow.
And you're either going to trade him
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to have to pay him or you're just going to lose him for nothing, which would be the worst case scenario.
Oh, a third round pick. I'm sorry, you're not getting a third round pick for Brian Burns is not going to be worth it.
That's not good enough. Not at all. Oh man. Yeah, so I don't know what they're going to do in this, and I thought for sure that they would make a trade, but there haven't even been rumors really. I mean, they're open to doing something, and probably Terrace Marshall will get traded for a big bag of nothing, but I think that might be it. I don't know that they're going to do anything that moves the needle.
No. And at this point, like, what can they do? They don't have much assets to move the needle.
The only
I,
thing that they could do would be to trade away Burns or Luvu or someone that can bring back picks.
I
Like
don't I
that's
don't
what they
think
would have to do.
Luvu has much
I think
momentum.
Luvu has. I don't think he has first round value, but I think you could get like a third for Luvu.
I think a third, but I mean, maybe I see Luvu different, but I feel like he's way more than that to
Yeah,
this team.
but you have to pay him next year, and that seems to be a big problem for these guys.
Even though we
Paying,
have like $50 million in cap space next year on with a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal going into his second year, which
and I think you've got rollover money too. Like you've got some flexibility here, but yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I don't know,
dude.
man.
All right, let's kill this. We're about almost an hour in, and we're almost past our second segment of Zoom. So, any last thoughts on the season so far? By the
Just
way,
that
I
it's
have no cuts, so if you're watching on YouTube, this is gonna be one long hour. Just I am not breaking this up.
yeah, it's just been disappointing.
Me too.
Really disappointing. And like you said, like we don't have a first round pick. Where is the light at the end of the tunnel? How many years away are we from winning? Because I think we are years. It's not next year. I don't see how.
Free agency with all the cap space, but
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
you gotta first of all, guys are gonna want to come. You're gonna have to
and
have
you're
them
gonna
want
have
to
to have the
come.
coaches who are competent. I don't see that right now.
You got to have the GM that's willing to go out and get the guys. And even then, like, are there enough guys out there in free agency to come in and change this team? Maybe you get a wide receiver, maybe you get one good offensive player, but that's going to eat up a lot of your cap space, and then you're just kind of in the same position.
And
So,
again, most good players don't hit free agency. Just
right.
point of emphasis. They don't typically happen. Tyreek
Guys
Hill
that,
was
yeah,
traded.
right.
DeAndre Hopkins traded. Like, look at the
Yeah.
players. Like, they're not good players. Don't typically hit free agency. And
Yeah.
again, that's why Brian Burns not being signed is a moronic move by Fitterer.
Yeah, you have to trade him or sign him. You don't go into next year with him still unsigned and on the team. Because if you go franchise tag, then all of a sudden Brian Burns has all the leverage. Because you're not going to tag him again, most likely. Because if you were, then you should just pay him now.
Yeah, you sign him to a little lower than Nick Bosa. I assume he would be willing to sign for that. Lower than Bosa.
Well, what was Bosa, like 32?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he wants 30.
Yeah.
And I think the Panthers want to pay him like 26. And they're going to have to meet in the middle.
If you franchise tag him next year, what is it, 28? You franchise tag him again, it's like 35. So
it's like close to 40. Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
Go ahead and buck up, guys. Think about this long term. You're being idiotic.
Yeah. All right. That'll do it.
Sorry. By the way, I want to shout out to my unofficial sponsor, CBDX.com, as I've been on a gummy this whole time and a couple shots in. So if I was a little loose, that's why.
CBDX. Just got my package in today.
Not an official sponsor anymore, but
well, if you use the promo code Meow, I believe you still can get a discount. So,
yeah, try it.
There you go.
We want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at meowmixpodcast.com. And if you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on the show. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Also, if you got any, want to get something off your chest, just email us, man. We'll listen.
Yeah, maybe we'll listen. Maybe you'll show up on the podcast.
Yep.
Who knows? Jimmy Jam. He was a good one. All right. Well, we'll be back next week to preview week 7 or week 8. The bye week's screwing me up. With a new sponsor, by the way. Well, we got a new sponsor next week, so stay tuned for that. I know everyone loves the ad reads, so it will be. Jerry, put it away. Put it away. They're not paying us yet.
Well, I mean, we do try the products before we
do try the products. Yes, so we at least have some ethics and and responsibility. But yeah, so look forward to that. And until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.